Hi, I'm Zach from Ready Up. Today I'm going to show you a very simple meal prep recipe. This is how I prep about 90% of my lunches. It's based on just nothing more than rice and ground beef. To give credit where credit is due, Stan Efferding coined the term monster mash, which is essentially what this recipe is, but people have been cooking rice and meat together ever since. So this recipe takes about an hour to make. It's going to yield about 8 of these Ziploc Tupperware containers. For this recipe, you're going to need a covered pan, a skillet with a cover on it, some spinach, 2 bell peppers. The color for your bell peppers is going to be shooter preference. I prefer the red and the yellow ones. Some sea salt, chicken stock, rice. Again, the amount of rice you're gonna use is gonna be shooter preference. I am going to cook 2 cups of rice. Some olive oil and some ground beef or ground sirloin. This is about 3.5 pounds of 80-20 ground beef. And then coconut oil is gonna be optional. The first thing I'm gonna do is cook my rice. So I'm gonna cook that in this Giada pan thing. I use chicken stock in lieu of water, and I do 1 part rice, 2 parts chicken stock. So this is 2 cups of rice and 4 cups of chicken stock. I'm gonna put it all in this pan right here and cook it until the chicken stock boils. All right, I cover it up, turn the heat to high, and then let it go until it boils. Once it starts boiling, I'm gonna put the heat on low and set a timer for 20 minutes. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is cook my spinach, or start cooking my spinach. So I've got my cast iron skillet here. I'm gonna put the heat at about a 3. Pour in a little bit of olive oil, and then throw my spinach on the pan. This spinach, it cooks down quite a bit, so you can use way more spinach than what you think you're actually gonna need, and it will cook down significantly. So I'm just gonna put a whole bunch of spinach on here. Pretty much just make like a big mound of spinach in this cast iron skillet. And pour a little bit of olive oil on top of it. And cover it up. And then that's gonna take about 10 minutes or so to wilt down. And while that's cooking down, I'm going to chop up my bell peppers. All right, I like to dice up these peppers into really, really small little pieces, but that's going to be dependent on whatever you want to do. I just prefer to get them as small as I can, and then I find that makes a nicer little mix once I put the meat and the rice all into the recipe. All right, I've chopped up my 2 bell peppers. My spinach is still cooking down, but I'm just gonna go ahead and add them in here right now anyways, and let them cook in with this spinach. All right, so my peppers are in here. Periodically, I'm just gonna come over to this as it's cooking and give it a stir, get it all mixed up. It's still gonna be a few more minutes before the spinach wilts down, but you saw how much was in there when we started, and you can see how much that it's cooked down just in the last few minutes. So cover that sucker back up and come over here to check on our rice. And it looks like it's just about to start boiling, or it is boiling. So what I'm gonna do now is turn the heat to low and set a timer for 20 minutes. And once that 20-minute timer goes off, I'm gonna come over here and turn the heat off on the rice and do a couple more things that we'll show you in a second. All right, I think our spinach is cooked down enough that we can put the meat on now. All right, so yeah, look how much the spinach is cooked down. Nice, got the skillet nice and hot now. So I'm gonna take the meat. Like I said, this is about 3.5 pounds of 80/20 ground beef. You could use ground sirloin as well, or any other kind of ground beef that you may have access to, ground meat that you may have access to. I just dumped that whole thing in there. Let me throw this away. Dump this in here, kind of break it up. Don't worry about that. And then I'm just gonna season it with some pink sea salt. I put pink sea salt on my food while I'm cooking it. I use a lot of this stuff. And then I put table salt on my food when I'm eating it. So the pink sea salt's got about 80 something minerals in it, but it doesn't have iodine in it, and that's what we do both salts for. So this is for pretty much everything but iodine, and then you use the table salt for the iodine. Just to add table salt to taste when you go ahead and eat this. All right, so my 20-minute timer for the rice has just gone off. So come over here, turn that off. I'm gonna put the heat on off. I come over here, there's my rice. I'm gonna give it a little stir, mix it up a little bit. This is white rice, but you can see that it's kind of got like a yellow color now because of the chicken stock. And this part I'm gonna show you is optional, kind of depending on whatever your weight management goals are. So I just take one or two spoonfuls of coconut oil and throw it in there. And that's when I either want to gain weight or want to maintain a certain weight. It's just an easy way to get a few extra calories without feeling any more full. So if you're trying to gain weight, this is a good little trick. Just throw in a little bit of coconut oil with your rice. Normally I would do a little bit more than that, but it's kind of hard to get out of the container right now, and I'm trying to just do this for the purpose of being filmed. But I'm just mix that up in there. Put the lid back on. Remember, the heat's off. Put the lid back on, and I set a timer for 10 minutes. And then just let the rice sit for 10 minutes with that coconut. I'm gonna check on my meat. You can see it's kind of boiling a little bit. So just give it some stirring. Chop it up a little bit. It's almost done. We still got a little ways to go. It's still a little pink. But you can see that the peppers and the spinach have all kind of become at one with the meat. And so I like to have this stuff chopped up nice and fine. So I just give it more of a chop than a stir. Hope you didn't get the dog just licking the lid right now. Let that sit and come back and check on it for about 3 to 5 minutes. All right, the meat is done to my liking. If you want to take a look at this. The rice still has 3 minutes and 45 seconds left on it, so I'm just gonna put this, just turn it off, and just let it sit in the skillet for a couple minutes until the rice is done. And then once the rice is done, I will portion it all out into my Tupperware containers. All right, so the timer for the rice is going off. We've let it sit for 10 minutes. The meat is all cooked down. It's nice and hot. Come over here. I'm gonna give this rice just a little stir. And now we are ready to start portioning this stuff up. All right, so for portioning, I use this ice cream scooper just because I know it gives me an estimate of how much rice I'm getting. So I'm just gonna do 2 ice cream scoops. per meal, and then 1 ladle of meat per meal. So that's about, I think that's about 5 ounces of meat and about 5 ounces of rice right there. Guesstimate, I'm not sure for sure. The good thing about this recipe is that if you're trying to gain weight, you can adjust it so you can gain weight by throwing more rice in or throwing some coconut oil in the rice. If you're trying to lose weight, you can adjust it by eating less rice, obviously not doing the coconut oil, and then adjusting your portions of the carbs and of the meat. Last thing I'd like to say about the rice is I've seen other people, a lot of people like rice cookers. I have one. I don't particularly care for it. It never really cooked this. I never could get it to cook rice the way that I wanted it to, and I couldn't really ever get it to cook anything else the way that I wanted it to. So that's why I cook the rice the way that I do. But if you want to cook rice in a rice cooker, by all means, go ahead and knock yourself out. I've actually tried cooking this entire recipe in a rice cooker, and with, I mean, very limited success. It didn't really come out good at all. So I find the best way to do it is just go analog and cook it all on the stovetop. All right, so I've got 8 prepared meals here, which will last me between 3 and 4 days. And you can see I did 2 ice cream scoops of rice in each one, and one of these spatula things of meat in each one. I got a little bit of meat left over, so I'm just gonna add it in here. And I got a little bit of rice left over, but I'm just gonna hang on to that and use that for so I can eat it with other meals throughout the week. With this recipe, I like to adjust the carbs and adjust the fat with the coconut oil. Basically, just make based on how I'm feeling, how I'm performing in the gym, and how my body weight is. I'm able to, using this recipe and other recipes and following the same kind of guideline, I'm able to maintain my weight exactly where I want it to be, which is 275, which is probably not what most people want to be, but for me, that's where I want to be. So you can use this recipe and just like I said, adjust the portions based on how you're feeling, how you're performing in the gym, and what your scale weight looks like, and then just adjust up or down in order to accomplish those objectives. Anyways, so I'm all meal prepped. I got some cleanup to do. That's gonna be it. I hope you liked this video. Check out the vertical diet. Check out the rest of my videos if you have a minute, and give me a thumbs up and a subscribe and all that stuff. Have a nice day. Bye.